In the quiet suburbs of Willow Creek, drama usually meant teenagers sneaking out past curfew or a neighbor's dog getting into someone's yard. But when my father, a decorated Vietnam War veteran, decided to retire in peace on the land he bought 40 years ago, he had no idea the real battle was just beginning, not in a jungle, but in his own front yard. It started with a woman named Linda Carver, the self-appointed queen of the Homeowners Association. Around here, we called her Karen, and not just because it was trendy. She fit the role perfectly. Bleach blonde bob, oversized sunglasses, a clipboard that might as well have been a scepter, and a voice that could peel paint off a wall. Dad had always kept to himself. After Mom passed, he spent his days tending his garden, feeding stray cats, and fixing up his vintage motorcycle. His property was a little wildflowers growing freely, trees sprawling without HOA approval, and most unforgivably, no white picket fence. To Karen, it was an eyesore. To him, it was freedom. One afternoon while I was visiting, a police car pulled up, or at least it looked like one. A man in a dark uniform stepped out, his badge glinting in the sun, but something about him felt off. No name tag, no radio, no partner. "This property is in violation of community standards," he barked. "Per order of the HOA, it will be seized for redevelopment." Dad, ever the calm soldier, stepped forward. "You're not law enforcement," he said flatly. Karen emerged from behind a bush like it was a stage cue. "You've had ample warning, Mr. Hargrove. We're tired of your jungle ruining property values." I could feel my blood boiling. You can't take someone's land just because you don't like how it looks. The fake cop flashed a piece of metal that looked more like a Halloween prop than a real badge. "You want to test that, kid?" But Dad wasn't rattled. He calmly walked into the house and came back with a thick binder. Inside were deeds, surveys, legal exemptions, and, most importantly, a letter from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Turns out, his property had been grandfathered in decades ago, with protections due to his service, federal protections that not even the snootiest HOA could touch. And then it happened. Karen's face turned ghost white as she read the letter aloud. "In recognition of Master Sergeant Henry Hargrove's honorable service." "Wait," she said, stammering. "You're military?" Dad gave a wry smile. "I've fought real enemies, lady. Your clipboard doesn't scare me." The fake cop made a run for it. Turns out, he was a cousin of Karen's who owed her a favor. Police were called real ones this time, and the man was arrested for impersonating an officer. As for Karen, the HOA board voted her out within the month. Apparently, even petty tyrants can't stand bad press. A local reporter got wind of the story and ran it under the headline, "Veteran outsmarts HOA scammer in land dispute showdown." Dad didn't care much for the attention. He just went back to planting tomatoes and patching up his motorcycle. But every so often, when someone new moves into the neighborhood and starts asking about property lines, I catch Dad grinning. "Let them come," he'll mutter. "I've fought tougher battles." Karen may have been removed from the HOA board, but people like her never disappear quietly. About a month after the incident, strange things started happening around my father's property. His mailbox was smashed twice. Someone left a dead raccoon on his porch. One night, his tires were slashed. Dad didn't say anything at first. That's the kind of man he is, the kind who'd rather fix things than complain. But I noticed the locks he changed, the cameras he installed, the gun he now kept loaded and close. Then, one night around 2 a.m., I got a call. "Son," he said, his voice steady but low, "I need you to come over. Now." I broke every speed limit to get there. What I found when I pulled into the driveway still haunts me. The garage door had been ripped open. Inside, a fire had just been put out. Someone had tried to burn his motorcycle. On the lawn, in spray paint, were the words, "This land isn't yours." Dad stood calmly with a shotgun in one hand and a flashlight in the other, and slumped against the side of the house zip-tied and groaning was none other than Karen's new boyfriend, Rick, a known petty criminal. He was out on parole for arson. "Caught him red-handed," Dad said, almost casually. Karen was waiting in the car down the block. She ran when she saw me. Smart move. The cops arrived shortly after. Again. And this time, they weren't so forgiving with Karen. Turns out Rick was wearing an ankle monitor, which placed him exactly at the scene. They searched her phone. The text messages were damning. "Make it look like an accident. If he won't leave, scare him out. He's just an old man." But he wasn't just an old man. He was a soldier, a survivor, a protector. Karen was arrested for conspiracy to commit arson and harassment. Rick was sent straight back to prison. The HOA, now thoroughly disgraced, dissolved within 6 months. No one wanted anything to do with it anymore. A year later, Dad's property is more beautiful than ever. Wildflowers bloom along the fence line. The American flag waves high over his porch. The bike, though, scarred from the attempted fire, still runs like a dream. We built a bench together under the big oak tree where Mom used to read. There's a new mailbox now made of steel, and a plaque beneath it, hand engraved. This land was fought for abroad and at home. Try again, I dare you. And every Sunday, Dad still tends his garden. Quiet, patient, watching the world from behind his sunglasses. Sometimes people still slow down when they drive by. New neighbors, curious ones. They ask questions. Is it true some lady tried to steal his land? Did someone really try to burn his house down? And I always tell them the same thing. No one tries to take land from a soldier. They either fail or disappear.